So first and foremost, I want to congratulate every New Yorker that's watching this video for the New York Knicks winning the NBA championship, because the Knicks have been going crazy and y'all deserve that win. And I don't say that every year for every team. But nonetheless, with us coming back, we got to talk about the discovery of Doom's contingency plan, or his secret weapon as it's been referred to for some time now. Because after finding out about Doom's secret cousin, we now find out that he's been hiding a young clone of himself in Latveria for a while now. So with that said, let's get back into this for Doom Shadow Part 5. So if you're enjoying the videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell to get all notifications. Alright, so coming back, we continue just after Red Widow betrayed the new Shield in order to help Salvation get this secret weapon that Doom had been hiding away. And at this time, when Salvation was going crazy, he got the word that the job was done, so he left Steve and the others so he can go and claim this weapon that Doom had left behind. But as he left, he let Steve know that he was able to do this because one of Steve's people betrayed him. And like we saw, it was here where Charles reached out to Red Widow to give her the heads up, as if she wasn't well aware of the situation. But as it stands, he doesn't know that it was Red Widow who turned on all of them. And now with Charles being injured, along with many of the others here, with Steve knowing that he has to go after Salvation, he leaves it to Joe to make sure everyone gets medical attention. And with there being no vehicles for him to use, one of the locals was like, hey, you can use my horse. Which kind of reminds me of the last time we saw Cap in this situation, when Marius Wolf, the person he's going after, helped Steve get a bike years ago when he needed to catch up with David Colton. And I like how throughout this story, there's a lot of moments where it seems like things have come full circle in the case of Marius Wolf. But as Cap leaves, you can tell that Joe's feeling kind of bad because he can't go with him. So Steve just reminds him that they came here to help people. And right now, Joe's doing just that. So he tells him, take care of Charles and the rest, and I'll be back. But if I'm not, it's been an honor, Joe Ramos. And Joe tells Cap the honor's mine. So of course this means Cap's gonna make it back just fine. And now when Cap leaves, he reaches out to Fury to get the last known location of both Red Widow and Trevor Tamley. And when he tells Fury that Salvation's about to get Doom's weapon of mass destruction, Fury tells Steve that he's got General Ross on the other line. So he patches Ross through so he can get caught up. And now when Ross hears about this situation, he's not happy about it, but in a way it's exactly what he wanted to hear. Because now Ross is like, well, I'm so glad to have both of your attention. A mass grave, an Avenger fighting with rebel forces, and now, it seems, a weapon of mass destruction is in the hands of a tyrant? You've just given me everything I need. Your time is up. We won't stand by while you F this up anymore. You've made America angry, Rogers, and you wouldn't like America when it's angry. And I'm just like, man, I know I heard somebody say something similar to that before. I just can't put my finger on it. But now that the general's heard just what he's needed to hear, to further justify him and his team getting involved, he's getting ready to do just that. Then after this, when Salvation makes his way over to Red Widow, this is where we find out some of the motivations behind why she betrayed Steve and the others. Because when she gave that whole speech in the last issue about how she wouldn't allow S.H.I.E.L.D. or anyone else, moving off the words of a man dressed in an American flag, overthrow Moscow, there was a lot of truth to that because she did this for her country and its relationship with Latveria. And we see that when Salvation gets here and he tells her, Red Widow, you surely made your country proud. Latvian-Russian relations will be unassailable thanks to what you've done here today. And there's also more to it with Red Widow because she's the type of mercenary who can be sold for the highest bidder as long as she can justify it in her own way at the end of the day. Because even when it comes to the things she's mentioned as far as her distaste for Captain America, that comes back to her believing that she's a truer patriot than Steve when it comes down to what she'll do for her country and how she goes about handling matters. And there's definitely some of that going on here too. But when they get here and Salvation goes to open the box, he just finds that there's nothing in it. And it almost seems like there was some sort of vial or sample tube that had been there before. But when he opens it up, he's like, sometimes the most powerful weapon can appear to be the most unassuming. Then when he sees that it's nothing, he's like, what the hell? And that's when he hears a voice say, if you're looking for a weapon, Marius, here I am. As Cap comes in full speed on that horse, smacking him with the shield. But also, now that Cap knows how dangerous Marius Wolf is, or how dangerous Salvation is, he hops off the horse and he's like, okay, I gotta end this quick before this dude gets up. But he doesn't even get the chance because he's quickly attacked by Red Widow, which now confirms to Cap who that betrayer was. So of course, Cap tries to give her the whole talk like, hey, you don't have to do this, only for her to continue to do this. And she expresses how she's a true patriot, unlike him, because she knows what she has to do. But Cap ends up stopping this real quick. He's like, okay, that's enough of that. And he tells her the people in power have to earn your trust instead of buying it cheaply, using your own patriotism against you. And a lot of this goes back to what Steve learned firsthand when he first came out the ice and went back to the US military, only to have them use him on his first mission to cover up their dirty dealings. That's why Cap chose the Avengers over them. But now that Salvation has gathered himself, which is not what Steve wanted to happen at all, he tells Steve here, your platitudes divorced from reality, living in your capitalist cocoon, your shelter of kind lies and comfort. You don't understand struggle. You don't see pain. Does the world have to teach you? Do I? And now you'll notice here how we're seeing Marius Wolf continue to slip further into becoming a worse version of Doom. And not worse in a way to say that he's more powerful or more capable, but it's more like what we talked about, where if you give someone else the access to the power that Doom had, and they don't have as much self-control or resolve, then it can become chaotic. And we're shown how Marius is slipping further into this, when Steve tries to call him out about murdering his own people, because as Marius continues to attack, this time around in a much different way than the fight we saw back at Castle Doom, where Marius' powers were red, now we see the power that he's using are all green. Which to me is just a great way of showing how over time Marius Wolf has become the thing that he's hated. And to me this was handled very well. Without it being dragged out or forced to the forefront, this was just his gradual progression in one of the stories leading up to Avengers Armageddon. But Marius gets the upper hand on Cap because he's powerful and quick. And he tells Steve here in response to the whole thing about him killing his own people that they were traitors and how no one else has ever held power without violence, even the Americans. And at one point, and I love how he brings this back up here, because he says, do you not remember? Your peacefully elected leaders put Doom in charge here. And it's like, man, you can call this guy crazy if you want, but there are no lies detected here. And now this comes to a point where he's nearly ready to finish Steve off. But before he does, he's confronted by Mara Sandu, the sister of Malor Sandu, who we saw not too long ago get his head popped by Marius. So she's not just saving Cap here, she also wants justice for her brother. But truth be told, in this moment, she probably should have went for the head with that first shot. Just saying. But since she didn't, Marius turns around and gets ready to boom her, which now turns the tables because much like what we saw with Red Widow, Mara's attack bought Steve just enough time to gather himself and come back swinging. And Steve tells him here that he's just another tyrant who thinks he's above his people, but they'll always rise up and remind you that they're the ones in charge. And then it's here where Steve just helps the people of Latveria jump this guy. Like, let me get this started with a nice shield stomp. But he doesn't stay long, because after this, he just steps back and lets the people of Latveria have at it. And even at this time, Steve had a moment where he's like, I know I should stop the crowd, but I can't bring myself to, not just yet, with him being distracted by what really happened to this weapon. So he goes back over to the statue that was destroyed, while saying here, fallen soldier and the missing weapon. Red Widow and Trevor thought it was here, at the statue, but there's nothing. It feels beneath Doom to just bury something so powerful. So he picks up the plaque and he's like, my written Latverian is worse than my spoken Latverian. But he reads that it says here, King Victor von Doom, the first from humble beginnings to eternity. Then he realizes when the statue stood, it was pointing in a specific direction. So he heads that way while saying humble beginnings. We're in Crescent Square, named after Doom's mother's maiden name, Cynthia Crescent. She lived here at one time. And as Steve approaches, he hears a woman say, leave. As Steve walks right into the middle of a standoff between a woman named Marta and Nick Fury. And at first for Steve, there's a bit of confusion here as far as what's going on. And while this is happening, we jump back and forth a bit between what's going on here and General Ross, who's not too far away charging up in his Gamma Charger. So he can charge up the Red Hulk, step in and take care of this weapon himself. But as Steve's trying to figure out what's going on with Nick Fury and this woman, he hears the voice of a kid say, I can't stay hidden forever. And as this kid approaches, he says, I've read about you, Captain America. If you're here, then trouble is on our doorstep. I was told this day would come. I'm ready for it. Victor Von Doom is ready to lead Latveria, no matter what comes our way. And now what's crazy about this is a clone of Victor Von Doom, who was created as a way to continue Doom's legacy. And now what's really crazy about the way this was planned to be done is how they had planned for young Victor to be raised with his own experiences. So it's not like Victor's consciousness was just dropped into this body or anything. But as soon as Cap and Fury see the kid, Fury's still got the guns out. So Steve tells him to lower his weapon. But Fury's like, nah, it's Doom, Steve. It's mother flipping Doom. But even now, Steve's got questions. Because sure, this is a clone of Victor Von Doom, but what's the bigger play? And Fury thinks it's obvious, because their master wanted his legacy to continue for Latveria's future. But there's so much more to it, because Marta goes on to explain what they're saying here, but he didn't want Victor to grow up with implanted memories, or a consciousness that wasn't his own. He wanted him to be raised as a good man, the way he was. But she believes it's too soon for the young Victor to step forward. While on the other hand, young Doom, he believes that the world decides that. The world decides when he's ready, and that time is now. But when he tells Marta here, our master is dead, Latveria is falling, I need to escape with the machine and find a way to... Steve's like, wait, the machine? What machine? As Fury spots a backpack over in the corner. And that's where Marta just booms Fury while telling Victor to run. So he grabs the bag and hauls off. And now this crazy interaction that Steve just walked into here, this lets him know that this kid by himself is not the weapon, not the full weapon. But there's a plan in place that includes this clone and the machine he has in that bag. And now what makes this way worse is the fact that General Ross has just been informed about all of this. And I wouldn't even say all of it, because there's some details that Ross doesn't know. Because for instance, he just thinks this kid Doom is Doom, with Victor's memories and all of that. And he's told here about the unusual energy signature coming from that bag, in addition to this kid being identified as Victor Von Doom. So now he's going after both. And right now, when we see Steve chasing after the young Victor, he hears General Ross giving an announcement from up above, with the general saying, "Attention citizens of Doomstadt, take shelter in your homes immediately. This is your only warning. We are attempting to avoid civilian casualties. Latveria is under American control now." And when Steve looks up, he just sees General Ross and his team of Hulks incoming. And it just has Steve like, "Good God, Ross, what have you done?" Because Ross and his team of Hulks, this was the general's plan of taking things into his own hands. So when Steve looks up here just to see that the weather's partly cloudy with a chance of Hulks, when Ross and his team touch down, Steve knows that the general brought these guys here to do some damage. But now as Steve is chasing after the young clone of Victor Von Doom and catch up with the kid in the middle of all this chaos, Fury reaches out to him. And Fury, who's still alive, it wasn't like a fatal shot or nothing like that. But Fury reaches out to Steve to let him know that he's called it into Secretary Brooke and the UN. And Fury's just like, "We need to evacuate Doomstadt," because Ross is about to go crazy. So Steve asks Fury if the White House ordered this, but Fury doesn't know, because Fury believes the White House is just as blindsided as they are, though they haven't confirmed anything yet, which right there kind of goes back to what we talked about when we saw Ross go forward with putting together this hulked out team after his heated conversation with Secretary Brooke, because for him to walk out of that meeting and still go through with the process, it kind of lets you know that some people are still helping Ross, even though he's out here doing things his way. But Fury goes on to tell Steve here that Ross is hitting any and all suspected terrorists and military hideouts, and that the casualties will be, but Steve just stops him right there, because they have another more immediate problem, as we see the young Victor stopped by a hulked out clap, because General Ross has already found him. And he just tells the kid here, "Hello, Doom. Remember me? The man you tortured for months?" Because Ross still ain't got over what happened in the Red Hulk series, when Doom took him prisoner, and Ross got out months later just to find out that the whole world was okay with Doom just taking over everything. So now he's ready to take out his revenge on this clone kid, Victor Von Doom, as if he were the full-grown Dr. Doom himself. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. All right, later.